Hey there, friends. I wanted to take the time to share with you guys about something I feel like it's super fun that I started using in the last, I think it's been a couple months now, and that is produce auctions. This year, my garden did great. I just did not plant enough to preserve, and I honestly think I have been stunted in my garden growth because I have always just froze everything. For some reason, canning has just seemed like something very abstract and very hard and difficult, and I have just never been a big canner. Shocker, right? So this fall, I decided that in this waiting period of me not having a ton to preserve, I would take this opportunity to learn the skill of canning and can everything. That way, when my garden comes in next year with all of the harvest, I am completely prepared, know what recipes I want to use, have all the jars ready to go, know about how much of each thing I need to do. So that is where produce auctions came in. So how did I find out about produce auctions? Well, I kind of heard people mention it maybe on like Facebook groups, and it was never anyone local. So I had no idea where to even look for a produce auction. And it also seemed very, I don't know, like something that wouldn't be for me. Like someone would have to buy like a semi-truck load full of something. And that hasn't been the case, I guess, for me. I'm sure you can do that, but I haven't had that experience. So it's not maybe that kind of produce auction. But what I did though was I have a local farmer who has a roadside stand, and I was buying produce in bulk from her. And finally one day one day she was like, you should really look into going to a produce auction because that's a good place to get things in bulk at a good price. And she thought that that would be a really good option for our family because we have 7 kids and we have guests that come eat once in a while. So I need to be able to feed quite a bit of people at all times. So I was like, well, I didn't know where those even were. So my first advice is to seek out those local farmers because a lot of them supplement what they are selling with items they're getting from produce auctions. Sometimes you have a vegetable that doesn't produce as well as you were hoping. They can supplement that. Let's say zucchini. I don't think anyone has problems growing zucchini, but if they did, they could go to the produce auction, order that, and then have that at their roadside stand. So my first place to look would be those people. The roadside stand people, the farmers market people, just asking like, have you heard of a local produce auction? The reason why they are kind of like you have to seek them out a little bit more is because they are generally run, at least in our area, by like Amish and Mennonite communities. They run these and they aren't on social media. So you kind of have to seek them out a little bit. And that was what was hard for me because I wanted to know what I was getting myself into. The one that's closest to me is an hour and a half away. So I didn't want to drive that whole way just to get somewhere where I clearly did not belong. So that was my huge fear going to this produce auction was like, what am I doing? I would suggest Googling, like just pulling up a Google search, produce auctions near, and then put your zip code in, or I'm in Virginia, so I said in Virginia, and then you have some options there. Another thing I did was looked on Facebook and just searched for produce auctions, and saw if there were any local to me. So that's kind of how I did that there. So that's how we found our produce auction. There are a few close to us. I've only gone to the one, but I would really love to try another produce auction. It's a little bit further away, but I just want to give it a try, just to see what they have, because it's in a totally different direction from our place. So maybe things grow differently there. I don't know. It's just kind of fun, you guys. Okay, some general rules about produce auctions. Number 1, bring cash. They won't have an ATM machine there because the ones I have gone to is generally just like a big, large, open air building. They don't have any electricity. In fact, the bathrooms have candles, which I think is so genius. So there's no real overhead for them every month, whatever you pay for electricity. Bring cash. A lot of times, once you have built a rapport with them, they will take a pre-approved check, but just walking it off the street, they're not gonna feel comfortable doing that. So the first thing that you do when you get there is you're going to get a buyer number, which is so fun. I don't know, I'm telling you, y'all just have to go to one just once, not even to buy anything. It's just to be there and experience this. You need a buyer number. Okay, so the one part that got me totally floored and I was confused, and my first time, like, I was like sweaty because I was like, I don't understand how any of this is working. Like, I don't get it. So I don't know if every produce, I'm speaking like they're all like this because the two that I've looked up are very similar. So there is something called the large lot auction, and there's something called the small lot auction. So the small lot would be, let's say, like a peck of apples, or maybe a small box of cabbage, like 6 cabbage in there. I got this in the small lot auction. Like, this would be a small lot. Large lot would be like 15 of these. Sometimes they have baked goods over in the small lot auction, different things. And there's some really good deals to be had over there. I bought 2 boxes of Roma tomatoes in the small lot department section. I don't know, what do you call that thing? Area. Let's say the area of the small lots. Okay, so then maybe start there on your first time. That would be more comfortable. Like, that would be a good place to start. Just hang out in the small lot auction, especially if you've never been to an auction, so you kind of get the feel of bidding and winning and dealing with all of that. So then you go to the large lot auction. And in this produce auction in particular, each lot has at least 5 like boxes of something. So for instance, I got 7 boxes of tomatoes over there. And oh god, there's just all kinds of things. Like, it's just like lots of things in the large lot auction. Over here, you have to do math a little bit more. So when they are auctioning it off, you are buying per box. Like, they will announce 5 boxes of canning tomatoes, and then they will start the bids. So what you're actually bidding on at that time, like price-wise, is 1 box. So then in your head, you need to know how much that is going to be times 5. So that is something to just keep in mind. So you're not spending $20 for 5 boxes of tomatoes. You're spending $20 times 5. You're spending $100 on 5 boxes of tomatoes, if that makes sense. Small lot, they do the same thing, but it's like baby steps. Like, it's like a smaller amount of money. So So if you miss the mark over there, it's not as catastrophic as if you miss the mark in the large lot auction. So they'll have, like, let's say the Roma tomatoes. So I bought a box of Roma tomatoes. They asked me if I wanted both boxes. So that would be $11 for one box and $11 for the second box. Not too hard. So now we'll just go to my tips on things that maybe I wish I would have known when I first started attending. So my first tip is to go early. So find out what time it starts. Don't go like ridiculously early because most of the items come like at the time of the auction. But I would say get there at least half an hour early. That way you have some time to get your buyer number, go to the bathroom if you need to, grab something to eat, just like settle in, because this can take a while. It can take, I think usually it's about 3 hours from start to load and like driving off. So that's my best item. And the other thing is when you get there early is I did not know this at first, but it is very, very helpful to walk the lots. So walk through them, because once you purchase it, it's yours. Like, you don't get to be like, oh, well, half of this box wasn't good. It's too bad. Like, you should have looked at it beforehand. Honestly, I've never had an issue with anything being bad. But the reason why it's really nice to walk it is then you know what's available. And like, you know, if you have another shot at canning tomatoes, if you miss the first one, like, just hang in there and wait for the next round of canning tomatoes to come through the auction. That was one reason. Another one is then you have an idea of how many items are in each lot, especially in the large lot. You have a better idea. So right now there's lots of pumpkins. We're in October right now. I'm checking my watch to see what it's October. It's October right now, so pumpkins galore. So the large lot auction, there's a difference. Sometimes there is 50 pumpkins in this big crate thing. Sometimes there's 200, sometimes there's 60. So this last time I took the time to come early and to look at the pumpkins and to figure out how many were in there. That way in my head, because as you're auctioning or you're bidding on things, you're paying per pumpkin. And I am just not great at being like, okay, great, so I'm paying 15 cents a pumpkin. This is how much my total is gonna be. So I try to figure that out beforehand. Like, if I'm gonna bid on a lot of 60 pumpkins, I want to know how much I'm willing to spend on each pumpkin, if that makes sense, before I enter into the bidding war. Because sometimes the heat of the moment can take over a bit and you decide you're gonna win this battle. So you need to know ahead of time where your cutoff is. So arriving early, walking the lots, and there's little cards on each lot. And take a look at it. It'll tell you the seller number. It'll tell you how many are in the lot. And then in the bottom, it'll tell you exactly what that item is. The other reason I really liked being able to get there early and read that was there are so many varieties of pumpkins and apples and all kinds of things. And I know I was looking not just for a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin or a field pumpkin. I was looking for a pumpkin that I can preserve and make pumpkin pie and have great flavor. So I took the time to Google these different kinds of pumpkins and to see if it was what I was looking for before I purchased 60 of them and find out that that was not really what I was interested in. So do your research on that part. Look up the items that are available and see if that's what you're wanting. That was super helpful for me. The next tip is especially your first time, bring a friend. Ask a mom friend, bring your mom. That's what I did. Don't go alone. You'll feel better if someone is just there to walk you through it. I mean, neither one of you will probably know what's going on, but it's always fun to have a friend and to giggle about things when you're like, woo, that was crazy, or just, it's a great shared experience to have with somebody. And the other thing is, I have lots of kids. I have 7. I guess not a lot, but I feel like it's a good number of children. I have 7 kids. So I would recommend on your first time, if you can, probably not bringing everybody with you. And you can totally do it with all your kids. I haven't yet, probably could, but it is kind of a little bit intense, and you need to be present and you need to be available. I have brought almost all of my kids, but in shifts. So I usually bring 2 or 3 at a time. I've never brought my 2-year-old. I think he's just a little too busy for that many, like that situation. But I do usually wear my baby in my baby carrier, and I have her with me, and then some of my bigger kids. In fact, this last week, I assigned Raylan, we walked the small lot. It was the first time I attended without another grown-up with me. Ray, it's your first day being able to bid for you all by yourself. Let me see your number. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you and Remy are gonna be over here, and let me see the back of your paper. Explain your process here.
I have cabbage, and I can't bid for it over $10. And the same as with the beans. For turnips, I can't go over $7.
Okay. You excited? Yeah, a little bit. Good morning. Yeah. So he sat over in the small lot, and he actually bid and purchased on some items that him and I had walked through and picked out what he could do. So that was super fun. So you're more than welcome to take your kids, but just know I hate for you to be there and be stressed out and then have lots of babies with you to see you feeling totally overwhelmed. You will definitely be able to take them. Just get a couple under your belt so you feel comfortable. Next, I would do your research before you go. So maybe ask that farmer friend what their best deal is on bulk items. That way you know, have a good idea of if you're getting a good deal or not. So local to me, I have a farm that I can buy their seconds of their vegetables, $5 for a huge Walmart sack filled to the brim. They generally have peppers, eggplant, those are their 2 huge, huge overflow things that they have seconds on. So I knew when I went to the auction, I wasn't going to be looking for any peppers or eggplant unless they were going to be less than the $5 that I was getting them for at the farm. I also knew that I could purchase a bulk, like a bushel of, let's say, apples from my farm stand for $40. So I knew going into it that I wouldn't pay more than $40 a bushel for apples because I would just get them from my local farmer. Yeah, or just looking in the store. It's hard looking in the store necessarily. I mean, it's a good thing to do, but generally most of the time, the things you're gonna get from the produce auction, I have found was much higher quality. So it's not really comparing apples to apples, but if it would give you a general idea if you're getting a good deal or not. And that is, it's always better to be more informed going into these things. The next thing I would do is pre-make a list of items that you are ready to bring into your home, especially if you're buying in bulk. Keep in mind as you're purchasing, and don't overwhelm yourself. So if you work full time out of the home, keep that in mind. If you're not going to be able to preserve up 9 boxes of tomatoes in the next few days, sorry, there's a fly. In the next few days, probably don't get 9 boxes of tomatoes, because I hate for them to go bad for you and that money just to fly out the window. So definitely score up on all of the great deals, but be prepared to put in the work to get it all done. There's always different things. I mean, yes, you can totally toss most of those tomatoes in your freezer if you have room and work through all of that. So just have a plan in place in the back of your mind of how you want to preserve the items you're getting. And that way, when you pre-make the list of things you're looking for, you don't just go absolutely bananas and buy all of the things, because I'm sure it would be so easy to do that, because there are good deals on a lot of things, but you don't need all the things. Or do you? I don't know. I think you could probably find use for just about everything. So if you have any other questions, feel free to drop a comment below, drop your questions. I will definitely answer them. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and share this video with anyone else or any friends that you think might want to learn more about produce auctions. I just want this video to take the scariness out of it, so you have a general idea of what you're getting yourself into when you go to one of these things. And I've been to 3. I went to one with my mom. I went to one with my best friend. And this last time I went with 2 of my kiddos. And I just have to share my experience with you, because I just feel like I needed to. I hope that you guys go out and check this out as a viable option for being able to preserve things up. Keep in mind, it'll be whatever's in season. So I wanted to share a funny story. I'm gonna be really honest with you, and I hope you find that you can learn from my experience. Okay. So I went to the produce auction this last week. I tried a different day. I had been going on Mondays, and I kind of talked to some of the people there that were bidding afterwards and asked them, you know, they had auctions Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, what the best day was to go. And they said sometimes Wednesday was the best day. So I happened to have someone, my husband's sister was visiting, so she watched the kids so I could take a couple kids off and make it to the produce auction on Wednesday, and I was so excited. Tommy went and got cash out of the bank for me. I was like ready to go. I was super excited. I was gonna grab some footage for you guys so I could share, kind of like, so you had like an inside look to kind of peek at it, so you have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. Super excited. Preparing for a YouTube video on helping you empower you with some knowledge of these produce auctions, and I was so excited. So I get there, get my buyer number, get Raylan a duplicate buyer number. We walk through all the things, get him ready. I'm over in the large lot auction, and meanwhile, I had left the baby for the first time. Well, not the first time, but I don't leave her very often, and I was super nervous about leaving her. She's always with me, but it's getting cold here, and it's an open air building, and I didn't want her to be freezing, and I didn't want to have to leave early. There's a fly on my head, part of living on a farm. So I left her home. And I told my kids to feel free, my ones I left at home, to call me if they needed anything. And bless their hearts, they had called and called and called about every little thing. It's pretty cute. They don't generally get to use the home phone, so they thought it was like really awesome. So in amongst trying to bid on things, I have my phone ringing and I'm answering calls, and I look like a stockbroker. A produce stockbroker. So anyway, I I wasn't completely present in the large lot auction. I had bid on a few lots, and I hadn't really, like, I wasn't really like dead set on anything at the time. Like, there was something I was kind of interested in, but I didn't get it. And I was kind of like, I don't know. So the large lots take quite a while. So I walked back over to the small lot section to sit over with Raylan and check on him and see how he was doing. So I was kind of like playing the field, like going small lot, walking back over to the large lot, going to the small lot. So I get back over to the large lot, and I kind of hustled over there because they were almost to a lot that I was really interested in. And I missed the bid. I missed it. And right after he got done, my phone was ringing. I didn't answer it, but it was ringing. And he said, "Man, guys, we got some sweet corn for you today." And I was like, "Oh, wow, sweet corn." I'm from Nebraska, and we love corn in Nebraska. I live in Nebraska right now, so I was like, y'all, they have sweet corn. Not only that, backstory, I already purchased 4 bushels of sweet corn, and I have an entire deep freeze full of sweet corn. But I purchased this at a time when I didn't have time to can the corn. So I was thinking to myself, I could use this box of corn to can it, because I'd really been wanting to can some corn. And I was like, if I can get a good deal on this, then I will can this corn and it'll be perfect. I won't even have to worry about thawing the corn in the freezer and canning that. So I'm like, okay, I'm here for this. So, another tip. When the bidding starts, never bid right away. So they'll always start the bid high and just wait. No one will bid on it, he'll drop it. Don't bid on it yet, he'll drop it again. Just wait until someone starts bidding and then start bidding like way down there. So he started off, I want to say at like $10. So what we were purchasing was I didn't know. Guys, if you have an idea, you can probably get a general sense of where this story's going. Okay, so I'm thinking I'm gonna preserve this box of sweet corn, right? So the bidding starts out, and I wait for someone else to bid. They do. I'm like bidding back and forth with these people, and it's starting to get like slower. Like, they're thinking a little more on it. I'm thinking a little more on it. We get to about $6, $5.50. We get to $5.50, and then that was what I bid. And I was like, okay. Yeah, like $5.50 for a box of corn? Like, of course I would pay $5.50 for a box of corn. Like, who wouldn't, right? So then it goes to $6, and then it goes to $6.50, and I hit $6.50, and then everyone else backs out. And I win the bid for $6.50, and I'm like, that is such a deal. So I don't think it was the auctioneer, but it was the guy that kind of like works the books. He looked at me and he was like, you want the whole lot? And I was like, all of a sudden it clicked in my head that I was at the large lot auction, and I probably didn't just buy 1 box of corn. So I was like, yeah, so what are the options? Trying to be super cool about it. And he's like, well, you bought 70, but you could do 35. And I was like, yeah, I'll just go ahead with 35. I'll just do 35 today. And like, I'm like starting to sweat profusely in my jacket. I'm like, 35 what? Like, so like how this works is then the auctioneer like walks on down. He has like a little portable like microphone, and they walk on down the line to the next lot. And everyone's moving, and I'm just standing there staring at all of this corn. And I'm like, 35 what? Like, what did I just buy? I don't see, and I'm like counting the boxes. I'm like, there's not 35 boxes here. Okay, so I saw 7 boxes. Actually, there was 14 boxes of corn. And I'm like, okay, well, I bought half. So I must have bought, and I'm like counting, I'm like 7 boxes. And I'm like, okay, well, 7 times $6.50. Well, that's gonna put me around $50-ish. Okay, so I'm like, all right, I did not mean to buy 7 boxes of corn, but it is what it is at this point. And I was thinking, Tommy's gonna be like, oh, where are we putting all this corn? But anyway, I am a figure it out kind of girl. So I'm like, I will figure this out. It'll be fine. So I'm walking over to Raylan, over to the small lot auction. And all of a sudden it hits me like a freight train. Bam, 35. 35 what? I like look behind me and I'm like, 35 dozen corn fits in 7 boxes. I just paid 35, I bought 35 dozen corn at $6.50 a dozen. I'm like, oh. So I didn't just spend $50. I spent $227 on sweet corn that I didn't even need. So instantly I'm like sweating like an NBA player. I'm like, no, there's no way this happened. There is no way. So I go up to the buyer number lady and I'm trying to be like super chill about everything. And I'm like, so I just bought some corn. Could you just double check? I don't remember the price I ended up on. And so she's like, yeah, just a second. And she pulls it and she's like, are you buyer 2000? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, you paid $6.50 a dozen. And I'm like, oh, I thought so. Thanks. And I walk over to Ray and I'm like, we gotta go. He's like, Mom, I haven't even finished bidding on my things. And I'm like, we gotta leave right now. Oh my goodness, you guys. So then like, I'm still in denial. I'm like, there's no way I just bought $227 of corn. There's no way. So I go back to the window and I'm like, I'd like to just go ahead and close out. We need to get going. And so she pulls all the things I bought. And newsflash, I hadn't planned on spending $227 on corn on this particular day, and I had brought enough cash for what I had purchased. So she tallies it all up, and it is more cash than I have available to me at this moment. And I'm like on hand. And I'm like, okay, I've been here a few times, so do you take a check? She was like, yeah, that's totally fine. Like, we're comfortable with that. So I reach in my purse to grab my checkbook out. Did I mention I have 7 kids? So I go to grab it, and all I'm finding in my purse is a Hot Wheel. Someone had traded a Hot Wheel car for my checkbook. So then I'm like, oh, I left it in my van. So I go in my van, and I am just like digging through it, looking for my checkbook. It's not there. It's not there. So I'm thinking like, do I have to leave a child? Like, how does this work? Oh my goodness. And the auctioneer is still going, like it's still happening behind me. So then I fly. I don't know where I get this bright idea, but I'm like, I need cash. I'm gonna have to go find an ATM. And I kind of was like in the middle of nowhere. So I was able to muster up like finding a gas station. I went to the gas station. It was super sketchy, super sweet people, but it was definitely not 5 stars. So I happened to find an ATM in the gas station, and it like took forever to work, but it did. And then I hopped back in my car, my big, huge 15-passenger van, drive back. The worst part was when I was leaving, there was the large lot, like whoever is done selling, they like leave in their horse and buggy, and there were like horse and buggies like following me on just happened to be following me, but like in my head I'm like, they're chasing me, like, get back here, lady, you owe us money. I didn't have any produce in my car, so I wasn't technically stealing, but I hadn't paid yet either. So it was just the whole thing. I wish I could have had a GoPro on and y'all could have seen this whole thing. I don't even do it justice. I didn't feel good for a long time. But I got back with my extra cash paid out, and on the drive, I will share you my last tip. I phoned a friend instantly to see if anybody was interested in purchasing, what is going on? Purchasing any extra sweet corn. So praise the Lord, I had several friends who also were super excited, or moms like me. They haven't been able to go to the produce auction yet, and they were tickled that I was willing to share some of the sweet corn that I had found. So I have since sold off, I think I only have 2 boxes left. So I have sold off 5 boxes, and now I have 2 boxes of sweet corn to preserve. But that is my last tip, is find out from close buddies. Like if anybody, especially if you're not ready for a large lot of items, but you want to get a good deal, like find out what people around you, your girlfriends, like what they are interested in and what price they'd be willing to pay. That way all together, y'all can come up with like the amount that you're willing to bid for. So sorry this video went super long, but I just had to share with you that I don't know everything either. And that was a great learning experience. And even if you totally screw up, there are always people willing to help you out because they're also looking for what you're looking for. So don't forget that very viable option before you get yourself stuck with 7 boxes of sweet corn. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Hope you are having a great day, and we will see you next time. Bye.